take these off because I don't need them. Oh, damn. I'm just gonna check on something real quick. Actually, meh. Do.
At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite.
Hello. Hello, good people. I am just checking on something real quick. Oh my god. Wow. Alrighty. A little bit quiet on your end. Do I need to adjust anything? I know, the last book. My god. Not terrible can hear me. It's not quiet for Azora Aura, so it may just be you. Fine for you guys. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well then. If, oh, hello, Cats, Ghost, and Art. Okay, so if it's fine for most everybody, then yeah, then Ranger just seems to be an issue with you. Okay, well then let's just get started. So yeah, so this is the last review. Okay, so I'll just do this how I always do them, as a giant mess. So, I am James Cheek. I am the voice of Hua Cheng in the dub of Heaven Official's Blessing, as well as the ADR writer for Season 2 of Heaven Official's Blessing. And I have finished the last book, Volume 8, of the English release of the book series. And these reviews are just sort of vibey. They kind of go in any order that I want to. I'll talk about the book, my thoughts on it. We'll probably get into the series as a whole. And then I'll answer your questions at the very end of everything. So yeah, so this book picks up right after the... right after everybody was suspicious of... I believe it was mooching. Which I genuinely was surprised he did not turn out to be Junmo, that he just was like, he was just being blackmailed, because that was a, I don't know, it was weird because it like, while it was happening, it felt like a missed opportunity, but when I'm thinking about it now, it actually seems more appropriate that it wasn't, that it was actually him doing these things, because you know, that's just kind of how this story went, is that like everybody's responsible for their own actions. Has it changed my opinion of mooching? No, not really. He's still just kind of a shitty cat boy. You know, and you know, he just I'm sorry, Brooke, but he is just kind of a dick. Like, that's just his whole thing. Hang on a second. I ordered something and it just arrived. I will be back in a second. You guys can lament your feelings while I'm gone. Amazing. Yeah, I mean, see, I also hated mooching. I don't hate mooching. Um, I just, like, he just kind of sucks, and not in any way that like, it's not so much that like, um, he sucks in an interesting way because he never really gets over his fatal flaw, which is his sort of lack of self-respect. Like he kind of feels like he doesn't deserve to be in any of the spaces that he's in, and so he keeps making these sort of like self-preservation decisions that he doesn't need to be making, and that end up kind of like biting him in the ass. I think like the one time where he was justified in just kind of bouncing was during the exile, because because he needed, because like he was gonna go see his family, like he was kind of like he was in his element at that point, and no one else was doing what they needed to do to survive. And so he was just like, I'm gonna go because I know how to navigate this. I'm just gonna go and do it. And then of course he immediately becomes a dick as soon as he ascends again. So like he sucks, but he's not terrible. He has to break all of our hearts at the start, yes. But anyway, so yeah, so that happens, and then we're back at Mount Tonglu, and then we get the final confrontation between Junwo and Xielian, and just the like baby girl moment of Hua Cheng kissing Xielian so powerfully that he like that he he goes full god mode, that he is able to break his curse shackles, and is able to sort of fight at his full strength, and then we get to see him be just an absolute badass for 5 minutes, and then the fact that he wins, the fact that he wins by doing the sort of like crushing rocks on his chest thing, like doing the whole the thing that helped him survive at his lowest point is the thing that helps him win at his highest point, is just beautiful symmetry. That is, it's absolutely fantastic. I will say a lot of people have talked about how that, like, book two, or not book two, but like but like the sort of the ascension arc, or I think it was like book 5 or book 6 or something, where things get really really heavy, and people were talking about how that, like, it hit him really hard and they started crying. And book 6, okay, it was book 6, and that was never the case for me. And and in finishing the series and looking back on it, I think it was just because I knew Hua Cheng was there. Like, I think if Hua Cheng wasn't there in any of those instances, I think it would have hurt, or it would have been, it would have like hit a bit harder. But the fact that I knew he was there, in various different forms, that he was never alone, and that I play Hua Cheng, I think that that was like, like, it wasn't that it was ineffective. It's just that it didn't really like stir any strong emotions in me outside of just reading it. The one time where I actually started freaking out in this entire book series, and it was a moment that, like, I shouldn't have freaked out, because I knew how it was going to end. But when Hua Cheng disappears, when Hua Cheng is sort of Thanos snapping in slow motion, and also, fuck you guys, I have signed so many books and prints with the like no, like no oh god, no banquet lasts forever line, and like no one told me that he's dying when he's saying that. Like that's so mean. That is so mean that I have been citing that probably since, oh god, almost like since I think like my first con or something. Like it was just, it's one of the things that I have been signing consistently on these, on that I've been consistently requested to sign. And and I'm reading this and he's dying and I'm like, oh no, oh no, oh no. And I'm like, it just having like having just this like, oh, that's a very pretty thing. And I had imagined when it was going to be said. I thought it was said at like the very end of the story. Like I thought it was sort of like a wrapping up kind of thing, with like, you know, Xielian and Hua Cheng, like, you know, just sort of like chillaxing in his palace or something. No, he's just dying on a volcano. and and I was just like, oh god, is he actually going to die? Like I genuinely thought for way too long that it was possible for him to actually die, even though I knew that his ashes were still around. Cielian's, you know, like still on the ring and all this other stuff. Like I knew he was there. It was just this moment where I was like, oh god, oh dear, oh god, oh geez, don't kill him, don't do this. um and then it was like, and then it was when it got further along and he just wasn't there for a long time, and we get all of those just wonderful, I really loved all of the like tying up scenes with all the other characters. Like I loved the scene where Jianlan is trying to run away, like sneak off into the night, and Xiaolian's talking to her and is like, Fangxin like really loves you and will take care of you, and she's just like, nah. It was like that was a that was a thing of its time. He gave me a son, and that's enough for me for that instance. And it was, and even with like Lingwen, where they had this sort of like, um, uh, where it was this moment of, you know, the fact that like she, you know, just sort of like admitting that she really did love, I forget the man that she murdered to make the brocade, but that she really did love him, and that like the only way that worked is if they loved each other. You know, it was they, you know, and so like that was a moment too where a lot of this series was put into a different perspective for me, where I start where it did this thing that that's this is a very common story trope, where sort of like every character is kind of going through a variant on the main theme of the story. And so, you know, but you don't really find out that everyone's story is a tragic love story until you get to Xilian and Huazhang, or until you get to the very end, where it's just like, oh yeah, they all had these intense, passionate romances with all these different people, and then for one reason or another, they didn't survive. And so you're like, yeah, that's why so many people like can't believe that this relationship exists between these two, between Hua Cheng and Xielian, is just because they haven't experienced that for themselves, you know, and life has kind of consistently proven that wrong. um and then them just kind of existing is like, yeah, we're the exception to the rule. You know, it's we're, you know, we're kind of we're you know, we're coming into this, you know, eyes open, we're, you know, we're gonna make this happen kind of thing. And I thought that was really, that was just so wonderful to have that moment of recontextualization, where so much of the story that had kind of seemed like busy work, you know, that kind of just seemed like we were lingering in stuff that maybe didn't matter, or I couldn't really see how it fit together, and then at the very end to just have that, have these, this moment where that becomes clear, and then have that reiterated with a number of other characters, that like, oh yeah, like everyone's story is just, you know, is a tragic romance, including Xielian and Hua Cheng's. Just they, you know, because they're just both weirdos, they make it work. And so I absolutely loved that. And then I loved the little epilogue that we got at the very end. The very end. Oh yeah, Xuanji, where she just like fucks off. She finally gets over Ling with Pei Ming, and just just finally moves on into the afterlife. Like that was just so great. I also love that Rainmaster's just sort of like every like just your weird autistic neighbor. um I love her so much for that, where she just keeps showing up and bringing like massively oversized vegetables as gifts. Just like a giant radish or some nonsense. And I absolutely love her for it. um she became like a really fun character when she was showing up. I wish she was in the book more. um but yeah, so just but that end epilogue moment, where they're making good on their promise to feed all of the poor and hungry. And like the butcher comes back, that fucking butcher, like the pig, the boar butcher, who just has just only appeared randomly in the background to scream a handful of things, is still gets more screen time. um and so yeah, butcher Chu, yeah. um like I loved that. I was also very excited that like we could potentially see him at the very end of the series too. I doubt that epilogue would, if we do get the full series animated, I doubt that epilogue would be animated, just because it's okay. um the Thousand Eyes, like, why is there ghost energy inside you now line was so funny. um uh but yeah, and then learning that like the heavens, because Hua Cheng like was so instrumental in like uprooting all the corruption and stuff, that like now they have to like ring a bell every hour on the hour. um just annoying the heavens. Like, it's just the most shit-eating grin, way to pay someone back. Like, that was just really funny. I loved in the and then in the extras, where when they do go up to heaven, like, he's just like, hey, I'm not hearing any ringing. And just being an absolute dick about it. um so that would so I really loved how the story wrapped up. The extras were just kind of okay for me. Like the amnesia arc, which was weird because that just went on for just so long. um and it I don't like, I didn't really need it. I think the only like extra story was the last one, which was Hua Cheng's birthday. um because that one, I think, that felt like the Citadel DLC for this series, where every character like had a cameo or a moment. um and and that, like, we got to see the we got to see the preceptor, playing cards, losing to himself at cards, playing a bunch of hollow, clay people, and then just going around and getting all these different opinions from different people. um and it was just a very cute and fluffy story. um and so I really enjoyed that one. I think that was, like, of the extras, I think I really enjoyed them. I was expecting them to be a lot spicier. Because in knowing how, like, Scum Villain and Modao are, just textually, not even in their extras, just textually, I was genuinely expecting to see something a lot more explicit. um okay, all the other MXTXs were so spicy. were they not spicy in the English release? Like, are there other extras that just did not make it in or something? Like, I mean, yeah, the statue one's weird. like, the one I like, the thing I like about the statue one is that Hua Cheng has a really stupid plan, and he just has a moment where Xialian's like, "This is your plan," and he's like, "Yeah, I know it's stupid, but it's all I could think of." He's just very out of his own element. It's very funny. Um, but uh but yeah, no, I was expecting quite a bit more spice, and we didn't get it. It was a lot more illusion, or just kind of like seeing them waking up, like in bed together or something. Not a lot of like fade to black kind of stuff, which I wasn't. Like I said, I was expecting something more. Not that I'm disappointed. I just was, the way people were talking about the extras. I genuinely thought there was going to be a lot more in there. uh, I'm still. The first one was cute. Yes. Um, but yeah. So God. But yeah. No. I think this was fantastic. I think this was something that I was very happy that I picked up the series and I started reading it. Um, this is something that I never would have picked up on my own, just because there's so much like um, initial commitment that you have to make to get to the parts that are good, and then but then it does one of my favorite things where it just keeps rewarding you. um Apparently I missed the cream pie. I don't know. I read the extras that were in the back of volume 8. um but yeah, but I was just, I'm very happy that I read this series. It is just so wonderful. And it really just kind of, it has scratched an itch for me that I have not experienced for a long time, because I used to be obsessed with like romance stuff, especially when I was in high school. That was like primarily what I read. And then it just kind of, I ended up kind of souring on it as like a genre, just because I kind of got like tired of the tropes and things like that, and just like the structure of everything. It kind of became kind of boring, especially like in TV shows and stuff, where it was just like, oh yeah, like unless the show commits to like this couple being together for the entire time, like they're gonna break up in some dumb way. So like this was absolutely fantastic. Um, it is something that I don't know if I can recommend to other people, because there is so much like initial commitment in it that you really have to, like, okay, look, there's a lot of text, and a lot of it's kind of dry and confusing, and it's not going to make sense until a good way through, and then it's not going to fully make sense until the very end. um and like I was checking when I posted the first book review on YouTube, and that was in 2022. That was over 2 years ago. That was in February of 2022, when I finished that book. So like, that was, so this has been a 2 year journey to get here to the very end of this. And I'm very, very happy that I got on this train. Uh, and then, is there anything like about the series as a whole? I don't know. It was just like, I genuinely am still surprised that it was able to do all the things that I wanted it to do, or to surprise me in ways that I was wanting, like that I was wanting to be surprised. Um, like, I think the one that's coming to mind right now is the Preceptor, and how he kind of just sort of, comes in, is very weird, but then like but he's just like a type of character that is really fun in that moment, in those and in the rest of the story, of just being this very old man. Um, Hua Cheng Ascending. Oh, I knew about that beforehand. When I was reading his wiki, I was confused. I didn't understand what was going on. Um, and or like yeah, well, I was doing like I was trying to figure out like Hua Cheng's whole deal, so I was reading the wiki. um and then I will say that it did still, it wasn't a shock, but it was also like it was still very satisfying in the books. Like I wasn't spoiled in that sense. um and like at some point I kind of understood that, like that's what, like that, like how that whole thing happened. um and personally I am just like fascinated at that particular moment in time for Hua Cheng, where he is, like it is right after the, it's right after the calamity arc, I guess is what it is. And like he and Xialian are like at their lowest points, like even, like even after death, like this is kind of his lowest point, and he still chooses to protect people at the cost of his own life. um and that is, that warrants him passage into heaven, that awards him godhood, and then he's like, nah. And he just comes back down. um I think that was like, that was so, that is so fascinating that, um that was like that moment for him. I also think it's very telling of him as a character, especially like who he was at that point. Oh, hey Mario, yay! Um, uh, Brain, sorry, my meds have worn off. Um, but yeah, so it was, so that was just like, I wish we had seen that. Hello, I wish we had seen that rather than had that like explained to us. Um, that would have been, I think a lot more. I think that would have hit about better. But then also like it's not super important. Like that's sort of like an OVA movie kind of a thing. See, when you read Hua Cheng's lines in the books, did you hear them in your normal voice in your head, or do you hear it in my Hua Cheng voice? Um, I feel them in my Hua Cheng voice, because my Hua Cheng voice is all in my chest, and it feels very nice to have like my, like just sort of resonate there, and like just kind of like a nice little rumbly. Um, and so there's sort of like a, almost like a purring, um, that like in reading those things, I could kind of like, I could get like the physical sensation of his voice, um happening when it happened. But like as like more of the cast got filled out, more and more of the characters started sounding in the actors lines. Like, Windmaster sounds like Jacob now. Jinwo sounds like Reagan. Pei Ming sounds like Aaron. So like, so yeah. But and Xiaolian of course sounds like Howard. um let me just start looking at some questions. The month by month waiting for Xiaolian, yeah, that was really sweet. um did I ever read the Hua Cheng dialogue and voice act them? I mean, like while reading it, not really. I don't think. I don't normally read aloud when I'm reading. I only do that if like my ADD or my ADHD is kind of like being annoying, and and I just am like starting over the same page, or like I feel like I'm getting lost or something, and so I'll start reading it out loud to help focus me back on it. um but I have just like, I have read passages. I've done stuff like that for streams and stuff. um I don't know if it's been asked of any of the Danmei, would you want to read next after TGF? Actually, I am in the middle of reading Little Mushroom. That one I mentioned that I was curious about it because it's just about gay mushroom, and I'm like, how does this work? Um, and and then it was gifted to me by one of the lovely Discord people, by one of my mods, and so I started reading that one. Um, it's rougher than Heaven Official's Blessing. Like the localization feels like it is um uh it feels like it's being way too loyal, for lack of a better phrase, to the translation. Like the prose doesn't flow very well. It's kind of clunky. So there's a lot of cool ideas going on. There's a lot of interesting stuff, but it is a bit harder to read. I'm not very far into it. I think I'm still in like the first chapter, but that's my initial impression so far. Is that like there's some cool stuff going on. I'm curious about it. I want to keep reading, but it is just kind of clunky to get through. Honestly, I'm getting through Scum Villain at the moment, and that's a little rough to read for me. I remember I did read a little bit of Scum Villain on stream, for one of the signing streams I did, and that one, if I remember, that one was like it would kind of like go off, and then something would happen where it was really funny, like surprisingly funny, and then it would kind of like have me come back and get back into it. And uh, and so then that was like that made it kind of a bit easier on me. This one's just like I was getting lost in the text because like it starts off with like the mushroom talking to the person whose DNA he is copying, like as they're dying, so they're using the same name, and it just wasn't structured very well to like, you know it was like he said kind of thing, and it was just hard to follow, and there was like a flashback or something that happened in the middle of there, and I was very confused as to where we were. That's what I mean by like rough. Am I planning to ever read any Baihe? I'm not against it. I just don't know of any series that have piqued my interest. Like of the other Danmei that I have seen, there aren't really many that I'm super curious about. Like this one's the only one that I was just like, oh, this is delightfully weird. Um, I think Heaven Official's Blessing has like scratched my like Xiansha Wusha itch for a good while. Like I don't want to read any other ones because this one was so good. I don't want to I don't want to read any other ones that get that can make it kind of dumb. Um, let's see. Jingwei Qingshan. No. I have not heard of that Monocro, so I am not familiar with it. Are you following the audio dramas for TGCF? No, I'm not. I know people are translating them. And I think I've heard like segments maybe, but I have not been following it. Um, Clear and Muddy Loss of Love is basically if Mulan was gay. Oh, interesting. Would I read Meat Bun? I am curious about Meat Bun mainly because I keep hearing that she's insane, uh, and kind of a goblin, and that makes me very curious. But I have it was either Meat Bun or Priest is like that. I think it's Meat Bun, and so like I am curious, but I have not seen anything by a title by Meat Bun that has like stuck out to me. Would you I read Fei Tong's work? He recently got licensed by 7C. He's a rare mailed on my offer. Interesting, writer. Amazing group dynamics and great donghua. Yeah, that actually would be really interesting to read this if it was written by from a man's perspective. Um, uh, any series you have read or want to read that aren't Danmei? Oh my God, Ranger, you're asking Such a wild question. I've talked about this before, but I just finished reading a series called Die. It's a graphic novel series. It's absolutely fantastic. Um, like it's still it's still kind of sitting really well with me. Um, it's the premise is for those who don't know, there was a Dungeons and Dragons cartoon in the 80s where a bunch of kids get isekai'd into the game of Dungeons and Dragons. And so they just run around and have like very, Saturday 80s Saturday morning cartoon style adventures. Die is what if it was that, but Game of Thrones, and then the kids come back. One of them is missing. One of them is missing an arm, and none of them can talk about what happened. And then 20 plus years later, they have to go back into the game and deal with all the trauma that they didn't deal with back then. And it's this beautiful, it's so pretty, but it also gets into like the history of tabletop games. Like the something that I wasn't aware of until I kind of was learning more about the series, but the Bronte family. So like the Brontes, like the like Elizabeth Bronte, the authors of like Jane Eyre, and Wuthering Heights. The three sisters and their brother had developed their own role play game called Glasstown that was kind of centered around these wooden toy soldiers that her brother was given when they were younger, and like write they would write these like these like magazine article type things, but they would write them very very small so that the soldiers so that they would be so that the soldiers could read them. They were intended for like the soldiers and stuff, and they were each given these sort of like island areas where they could be like lords or something over. It's fascinating because I think it was Elizabeth Bronte had said that like that was where she learned how to write, was by playing that game with her siblings. And the game kind of took over their lives. Like I think Elizabeth Bronte had at one point like hallucinated a character that she had created in that world at one point. It was very like Mazes and Monsters esque. And so I think because all of them passed away pretty young, and so I think a lot of what survived isn't a whole lot. So I don't know exactly how much of that we have, other than just like just the surviving Bronte sister discussing it, in the past tense. But that series is fantastic. Also, really loving Twilight Out of Focus. Like I started reading that for work because I'm currently writing that series, and instantly fell in love with it. Like just instantly had like a full body reaction of just, oh my god, I love this so much. And so I'm very excited for when Volume 5 comes out. And then the summer Hikaru died is also really really good. And I'm really digging that one. I think I'm gonna reread Pluto here in a little bit, which Pluto is one of the best stories written. Period. It's this retelling of Astro Boy, and my God, that's one of those stories that has stuck with me. Like that changed how I like want to like the kind of like tones and things like that I want to strike in stories and things like that. So good. I'm going on. Let's see. JWQS is so good. I beg of you. Oh. I mean, again, like, books are harder for me to get into just because they're bigger time sinks, and I don't have a lot of that anymore. I kind of love that you embody Hua Cheng so much that you were unaffected by the sadness of book 6 because you knew that Xiaolin was okay. Yeah, he's there. Like, I was more worried about Hua Cheng than Xiaolin because I was just like, yeah, but your boyfriend's come back, we're gonna be fine. Like I wasn't like unempathetic or unaffected by Shalian's journey, but I was not worried for him. ERHA is really good, but it has those tigers. Oh, triggers. Yeah, okay. Modao is such a mix of humor, trauma, dedication, sacrifice. Yes, it is. I can't Meat Pun books. I can't recommend them, but I'm begging you to read them. Am I interested in Thousand Autumns? The final volume just came out. That's a title that I've seen quite a bit, but I have not looked into it that much, so I'm not super curious about it. Well, Clear Money. Okay. Let's see. Was my introduction to Danmei. Actually, the animation was my introduction to Heaven Official's Blessing. Your work with it made me want to read the books. Oh, that's so. Oh, well, thank you, Yari. That's really sweet of you. Priest is hard to read sometimes. That's the vibes I get from Priest. Meatbun has a lot of essay, which you said is not your thing. Yeah, that's probably why I've avoided Meatbun. The one. Yeah. Okay. Definitely a Saturday morning cartoon vibes. Yes. Day Life of the Immortal King dub, and I'm on season 4, episode 4. Hey, my roommate is the lead in that show. He is the Immortal King. We think it was really funny that he got cast as a lead, and he's had like 4 seasons, and he like all he says is just like he goes in for like 5 minutes and then leaves. Order of the Pure Moon Reflected in Water is an amazing novel, very much in the wuxia style. Very cool. The Brontes were so strange. Yes, they were. They there was a lot of trauma and mental illness in that family. Hello from Italy. Hello, Italy. Oh, that's so great. Sailor Formula. I knew. Okay, so Sailor Melee Bobby. I'm probably butchering your name. You in all caps. You said I knew you were writing for it. Did you see the announcement, or did you just like pick up on my writing style? Because I'm curious about that. Because that'd be really cool if you picked up on my writing style. But yeah, it was announced when the dub dropped. The Water Outlaws is amazing. It's based on Chinese classic. The Water Margin. It's gender bent lesbians causing chaos. Oh, nice. Yes, Pluto is the manga. Pluto is the retelling of Astro Boy. There was also an anime done recently for Netflix that I have wanted to watch because I love Pluto so much, but I have an incredibly difficult time watching it because the dub is fantastic, but it's not what I would have done. And so there's a mix of like, oh, you're doing a good job, but like it's not exactly how I wanted this to go, kind of a thing. And then it's also an LA dub, which means that like there seems to be like a sacrifice for like performance over visuals, like not just flat fidelity but like visuals, like they're giving it a fantastic performance, but it doesn't necessarily line up with the animation that's there. And I personally think that the best ones are when you use the animation to your advantage, and do something interesting with it. But that's just, but then again, I haven't gotten very far into it, so it may just be like 1 or 2 things that I was looking at. It's still a fantastic dub, and it's a fantastic show. I just have a hard time getting through it. I would love to do audiobooks. They would be so amazing. Would I ever come to Sacramento Con? Hell yeah, I'd go to Sacramento Con. I just need to be invited. Have I watched The Daily Life of the Immortal King dub? I've caught a few episodes, and Jared, oh god, I can't remember his last name, but he sits right behind me at work. Like our desks are right next to each other, so like we've talked about episodes that he's working on, and like there was an episode where I think they did a lot of I think it was the episode where they go to the animation studio, where there was a lot of like wuxia xianxia like trope jokes, and they were asking me because I was the one guy who knew anything about them. It was like, what is this? And so I ended up helping like kind of giving them information so they could kind of get the joke to land a bit better. See, Thousand Oz is my second favorite Danmei. It does have dubcon. Have I watched Mignon? Yes. It is very graphic, but my god, is it gorgeous. I haven't finished it because it's very hard to find it now, because I think the company that produced it like pulled some shit or something like that, because you used to be able to like buy it on Vimeo, and then now you can't like watch it anymore. It definitely it's doing the thing. It's doing the thing that that I get slightly frustrated with when it comes to like BL, in that there is a very interesting or compelling context for the world, and rather than explore that, they focus on the two guys having feelings at each other, which is not bad, but it is something where like I don't need all of that all the time. It's probably the one frustration I have with Twilight Out of Focus, where I want to know more about the film club that everybody's a part of. I want to know more about the movies that they make, and like their like group dynamics, because it's fascinating to me for this club to have such a high functioning film club, and have such varied skill sets that they can have like full film crews essentially. Where it is just sort of like a film school, like like sort of like a post grad film school essentially. And like I wish there was more of that inserted in the story, so that it wasn't just about the boys having feelings at each other. And I think it would have made some of the stories a bit stronger too. But it is. But I don't know I don't know how much the author knows about filmmaking. So it is one of those things. But Mignon is another one of those things where like, like a vampire being sort of like a gangster doctor for an underground fight ring. That's fascinating. That like, he's in this shady underground situation where where like no one's gonna care if he takes blood, like no one's gonna ask questions if he like is hoarding blood or something. Like his life is really interesting, and so I would want to know more about like that, and more about the underground fight ring and things like that, rather than these two dudes again, just like boning each other and having feelings at each other. Not that that's done poorly or anything. It's just that I would rather when I'm watching it, I find myself getting more interested about these little background things that I wish I would focus on more. But it's still fantastic. Let's see. Heaven Official's Blessing is also my first introduction to Danmei. Oh, nice. Graphic is an understatement. Yeah, no, the Korean stuff does not hold back. I've heard good things about the Ballad of Sword and Wine. It's Danmei, and I heard the shit rots people teeth. Oh God, I don't know if I want to read that. Like I can only handle so much saccharin. If you like political stuff, read Golden Terrace. Political stuff is hit or miss for me. It can be interesting, but it could also get Game of Thronesy, where everyone's just a dick. Reading The Fish Danmei. Okay, now The Fish Danmei. Is the guy disabled? Because I think the title is like the disabled emperor and his fish something. Because if he's disabled, then that'd be really cool. He's mute. Oh, okay, interesting. I requested Golden Terrace from the library. Nice, way to go. Using your local library. Fuck yeah. I think James said I wasn't. I think it was just I just didn't get it. It was just, like The Fish Danmei was very weird. The real question we should be asking is, where is TGCF season 3? Don't ask me. I don't know. I'm literally the last person to find this stuff. Find out about that stuff. Hmm. Just spam the studio that question. Yeah. So do you know how far you travel for cons? But maybe you someday go to Anime Con, Missouri Comic Con in Springfield. That'd be awesome. Again, I went to Denmark for a convention this year. Like, I'm good with traveling. I just need to get invited to places. You know, like how that stuff works is people either reach out to me, or if I ever get representation, reach out to my representation, and or my representation reach out to them, and then just like, a dialogue starts where I get invited essentially, or we agree on something where I get to go. And I would love to travel for that stuff. I just need to, just the conventions need to talk to me about that. And how that happens is by asking me to guest at those places. Do I struggle with audiobooks? No, actually. I really enjoy audiobook. Well, it depends, because some audiobooks are just like they just kind of like they don't jive with me. Like I really love the Dune books, but I haven't gotten past the third one, because uh, initially I was listening to the audiobooks, and the audio for the first two audiobooks are great. The first one's absolutely fantastic. The second one is not so much, but still really good. The third one is just has this sole narrator, and he just sounds like a old British imperialist, and everything he says sounds racist, and I can't stand it, because that book is just a harsh critique of colonialism and imperialism, and so there's a lot of like that, a lot, and it being read by someone who sounds like an old British imperialist, like just it sends all the wrong signals, and I hate it, and I can't stand it, and I've wanted to get past it. I actually have a copy of the third book and tried to read it, and I get stuck at the same spot. So it's one of those things where I want to go and finish or at least the Dunes that Frank Herbert wrote. But no, I love audiobooks. I'm currently listening to one right now. Excuse me, one right now called He Who Fights with Monsters, which was one I didn't expect to enjoy, because I'm not big on RPG lit. I think I've talked about this before, but like I hate the gamification of fantasy. I think it just like I think it's ruined fantasy. It turns it into a numbers game, and it's really annoying. Um, and it just turns into it's all the bland things about shonen. And so so like it's frustrating to see so many fantasy series now kind of like adopt like World of Warcraft-esque like elements to them. But this is an RPG lit thing, but it is meta enough that it kind of makes fun of itself for those things, but then it also takes the time to think about, okay, if this is how a world worked, like how would its power structure be? Like what would be the upper class, what would be the lower class, what would be the things that would divide them? And so the main character kind of navigates mostly upper class stuff. But he's also, just like a lazy socialist. So there's a lot of critiques and anti-authoritarian sentiment in the series, and it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. It has the Bleach problem, where the main character just like almost dies and then gets a new power a lot, to the point where even the other characters are like aware of this, and it becomes a running gag. But and he's got that sort of like it's also got like the arrow problem, where the main character is like, oh no, the big question is like, do I murder or do I not murder people? And it's like, that's not a compelling argument. It's not a compelling question, to like justifying the murder of X, Y, and Z. And so but it's really fun. There's like 10, I think there's 10 volumes out now. There's an 11th on the way. Like it's gonna be one of those like really long ass series. But it's a lot of fun. I think I'm on book 9 right now. Yeah, no, Mignon is actually something that I would love to localize. That's something that I would love to like figure out how to get it, and like get it and give it an English dub. Um, you know, let's see, Legend of Exorcism. I've heard people have mentioned that. I have not checked it out yet. Um, where are you watching Mignon? Yeah, you can't find it legally. I think you have to like, or like it's on Vimeo, but you have to hunt it down. It's very weird. It's Korean animation. Yes, it is. Let's see. Did I enjoy the Assassination Classroom dub? I didn't get into Assassination Classroom when it came out. I think I watched the episode that I was background in, because I was just some random people here and there. Um, and then I think I tried to catch an episode like midway through, and it was not. It didn't land with me because I hadn't understood what the series was going for, and so this big dramatic moment just felt kind of weird. Um, and then I tried going back and watching it from the beginning, and it's a bit rough in the beginning, and it felt just kind of cheesy, and so I didn't really jive with it. But I've heard nothing but good things about the series, period, not even just the dub. So I may go back and watch it eventually. If anything, just to watch Sunny straight, be awesome. Shaux, yeah, you used to be able to buy it on Vimeo, but then like the producers or the something like was a dick, and you can't buy it anymore. Like, it's very weird. I do follow the creator on Twitter though, because his animation style is just really really good. Out of the Ancient Magus Bride to my Crunchyroll watch list. Hell yeah, that's such a good series. Um, yeah, no, Mignon has like Mignon is pushing X rated for butt sex. So like, that is not for children. Da, 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 da. Yeah, see, I don't like ebooks. Like, I don't like reading stuff off of like tablets. It hurts my eyes. Um, there's a manga called Sign that I would love to be made into an anime. Oh, that's nice. There's one I've seen before called I Heard a Sunspot, which sounds really interesting because the main character has some sort of like audio processing issue. But it would depend on like, and I've wanted to check it out just because it seemed interesting, but I don't trust it to not like just be about boys having emotions at each other. Like, I would like to see to like just see how that person navigates the world. Hope to meet you and Howard and everyone at SAC Anime. I don't know how to request. I'm trying to ask them. There's usually a way, I think, like on the website or something, to ask. You need to get yourself over to London. I met so many in May. I would have loved to see. I would have loved to have been there too. I gotta get invited. It just will not focus on an audiobook, and I hate it. Oh, I mean, that's just. I grew up listening to audiobooks. Like, not a whole lot, but there was a couple that was just like. That like my grandmother had bought some books on tape or something, and like I fell asleep to them. So I just kind of, I have them. I don't sit and listen is the thing. Audiobooks are something that I have playing while I'm doing something else. So I'm like 85, like 60 to 85% focusing on the audiobook and doing something else. I usually do it while I work out. And so so like that's how I listen to audiobooks. I don't just sit and listen. That I could not do. That would just be annoying. I wish Anime NYC had invited all of us too. Oh, that's awesome. Oh yeah, I know that some people have been reading it on YouTube, and that's really cool. Um, the first time Three Body Power audiobook was put out, it was horrendous. The narrator didn't even try the Japanese. Ugh. That's awful. Like, screw that. Ugh. Uh, what am I drinking? I am drinking cold brew from Coral Reef Coffee. It is a specialty. One of their specialties, I think it's just called like sea or like deep sea or something. What is it called? Three C's. It's got caramel, coconut, and cold brew. It's very good. And cold foam. But no, it is not Dunkin'. I've had Dunkin' enough times to not really enjoy Dunkin' very much. Or just drink water if you're dehydrated. Hyperventilation, yes. And it's also X-rated. Yes, yes, both of those are. Hyperventilation's different because it is just dudes boning. Like that's just it's X-rated with a story. Um, and like I think I bought the manga release just because I wanted to see, because it was an example of like webtoon to print format, and it was also and I wanted to see how that like worked. And then I just remember and also just because it's gay, and I was like, huh, how does this gay thing work? um just remembered was the one thing that got me into anime. Oh wow, that's so cool. Yeah, no, I love Ancient Magus' Bride. That was one of my favorite things. Was to be able to not only get to work on it, but just to be a random guy in that show who kept coming back. Like he kept showing up. Like he showed up like 4 times when he kind of only needed to show up once. But I was very happy every time he showed up. I got to say a handful of random things. R.L. Stein audiobooks? Ooh, that'd be cool. I mean, I would hope that they would be done well. Susan's Jeans, yes. Gay Watch? Oh, God. Everyone on Crunchyroll seems to be practicing the Chinese names and caring about trying to get it right. Yeah, that was something that for season 2 especially was something that I really focused on. I talked about I don't know if I've talked about this before here, but I talked about this at Anime Fest a couple of weeks ago, where in preparation for season 2, because I knew all the things that we didn't have in season 1, I put together basically like a show bible of like names, terms, like when people came in and out of the story, things like that, for casting purposes, like just everything we needed to do to make the job easier. And then one of the things that we ended up getting was I put together a really just a shitty reference guide, pronunciation guide for all of the proper names in the book series, and I sent it to Howard, and I was like, "Hey, is this usable?" And Howard was just like, "Eh," and he was like, "Here, send it to Molly." Molly Jong, like she's a big fan and her Mandarin's better than mine or something along those lines. And so I sent it to Molly, and I didn't know her, from a hole in the ground at that point. And she just sent me back a full like re-recorded reference guide. So we had a native Mandarin, like a fluent Mandarin speaker, who also spoke English, like helping us with all of this. So we had just this fantastic reference guide for all of the proper names. And so what I did was to make it as like disgustingly easy for it to be used, so that they never had an excuse to not like reference the name of something or the pronunciation of something. Is that whenever a proper name was used or proper noun was used, I would link to it in the script itself. So they always had a link to Molly saying that word. And so so like, and that apparently that was like clutch for Jerry and Jill as they were working on the show, so that they always had something to help the actor. So at that point, it became like the actor's ability to listen and replicate the phonemes as best as they could. And also, I gave everyone a copy of the reference guide so that they could look at things and practice them on their own if they wanted to. And so no, we tried really hard with season 2, and we'll just continue to keep trying as seasons goes on until everyone can say everything correctly. I want to get an animation and filmography in general, but I'm struggling with where to start. Trying to wait and get a new computer before I experiment with software. You've inspired me. Oh, thank you. That's so cool. Like animation and filmography. I'm curious as to what you mean by filmography. Like just like making videos or something? Like what is it that you're actually getting that you're fascinated with by the medium? Very curious, Raven. I thought I could do any kind of VA. If I thought I could do any kind of VA, I'd try that. Well, you technically can do any kind of VA. Like it really just like, like if you got a mic and you do a voice acting project, you're a voiceover. You're an actor. You're a voice actor. Like barrier is really low. It's the same with acting. Like if you've ever been in like a community performance or something, you're an actor, or you've acted. The idea is like, can I be professional? Can I be competitive? Can I, like audition for a project that has me and like Matthew Mercer in it? That takes a lot of time and work and effort. That's not something that you just like get up and do. But it's being a voice actor is not super hard. Dangerous Convenience Store is a Korean manhwa which went from webtoon to printed books, which I bought. Would love an anime. It's Blood Brilliant. Oh, interesting. Okay. It's supposed to be animated. Oh, nice. Molly coming clutch. Yes. I mean, yeah, that's like, hey, this is actually shit. Here's an improved version. That's basically what she did, and I'm great. I will be forever grateful for her for doing that. Did Molly help with link click names as well? No, she didn't. I did work on that show. But and that one it was only just the names of people that was like coming up. Like there wasn't really like, I think if there was something that came up that was like in the script or specific, because like that doesn't have source material to reference either, so like we can kind of get away with like not using proper nouns or names if we need to, because but I think I tried as best as I could to like link to, like if there was a name or something, like I would try and find a at the very least like a Google Translate link or something. I also Susie Young is in that show, and I believe she speaks Mandarin as well, and it just kind of works out that her character says most of the Mandarin in the show. So that was fine. With link click, I remember when I was working on it, I was very, very adamant about using everybody's full name for the most part, because or not having anyone use like a single syllable name, because as I understand, I don't know the reasons why, but like culturally, you don't like for Chinese names, like you don't, even if you have a single syllable name, you don't say someone's name as a single syllable. Like if your name is like John, it'd be like John or something. Like you would add a prefix syllable in front of it. And so, like, the only times that I allowed anyone to just say someone's name um, was if they were like if they were really close to that person, like Howard's character, spoiler alert, he dies in episode 1, and his name's Chen Bean, and his death is very important in the series, and his like wife's processing it is very important. So like so her so she would say Bean, she would just call him Bean, but everybody else for the most part would call him Chen Bean. Um, and so like so that was something that I tried very hard to do. We just like keep it like that as best as I could. And it also just helps that the names in that series aren't super difficult. Like Cheng Jiaoshi is probably the hardest one in English, because like Lu Guang isn't super difficult for English speaker to say. But yeah, so like that one that didn't have a pronunciation guide necessarily. I think for the if we get to dub the next season, I think we might. The other thing too is that like that one's difficult as well, because like again we don't have source material, so like I don't have anything to look to like reference to get and then reference and then to make a reference guide for, knowing that would be like a thing that we would need, because if it's just like one episode that this word is used in, then like we don't, and I don't have a lot of time to make those kinds of things. Like I'm not gonna like there's just sort of like a mix of of like what I can do, what I want to do, what I can do with the time I have, those kinds of things. So it's just a lot. But yeah, season 3 was announced. Yes, it's very cool. Very excited about that. Raven, you've decided that you don't have a good voice for it. That doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And nor do you have to have a room that's soundproofed. Many people, professional people, record just in their closet with a bunch of clothes surrounded by them. Like it's very, very doable. If it's not something you want to do, it's not something you want to do. Like that's fine. But like it's those types of things are things that you're saying. Directing, writing, editing, that's what you're interested in. Very cool. What was my gateway anime? Probably Cowboy Bebop. The first anime I ever watched was Samurai Pizza Cats, which I didn't realize it was an anime. I knew it was different. I knew it wasn't like an American cartoon. But it was the first anime that I ever watched. And then I think Cowboy Bebop was the show that I was just like, oh, this like this is really cool. But there was Pokemon and like the 4Kids stuff. So there was all those kinds of things as well. Please get hands on the Tadaima anime and get it dubbed. Perfect with me doing it. I don't know the Tadaima anime, so but that would be never say no to work. On the Modao Dongwa, I would love to work on the Modao Dongwa too. If they handed the dub script to oh, that's really sweet. That would be really cool. I was about to say Howard writing Wei Wuxian's dialogue. Why did it autocorrect to Howard? I don't know, Soda. Your computer is weird. I'm planning on doing some embroidery of TGCF. I love making VA patches of characters they do. I'm doing one for Clifford Chapin. Aw. Or Clifford Chaplin. Did you say Cliff Chapin or Cliff Chaplin? Who you're trying to do? But I don't know what image in TGF I do as practice. But would you be interested in me making one? I mean, I never say no to. I never say no to gifts. I say no to spending a ton of money on me. That's my thing. But no, that sounds like it'd be wonderful. It's an Omega series. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, now I remember. Yeah, that's on Crunchyroll right now. Um, yeah, that actually I had to. So for those for those who are watching Twilight out of focus, know that the most recent episode that dropped, Jiichi, um, one of the bottoms, references Omegaverse like offhandedly. And so when I was writing the script, I was just like, I mean, he says Omegaverse. So I had to, so I kept it in the script, but then I had to try and explain what Omegaverse was in like a director's note, which doesn't have a whole lot of room to do that in. So I ended up just like linking to that show. I was just like, okay, so it's basically guys can get pregnant. This show, like this show is an Omegaverse BL. So bleh, you know, and that was just, yeah, no, Omegaverse is, I like, it's funny. I don't have any issues with Omegaverse as a thing, as like mpreg, things like that. I don't have issues with. Um, but what does, but there are two things that bug me about Omegaverse. Um, that feel like they don't need to be cornerstones of Omegaverse, but they are cornerstones of Omegaverse, and that is the like the Alpha Beta Sigma thing, where there is this like sort of, it's this like messed up one true love kind of a thing, where you just get where people lose their ability to control themselves, and like they have to they have to bone, and like there's like weird drugs that the betas take so that they don't get raped, and it's like ugh. Like that is, oh hey Kieran. But like you walked in Omegaverse, oh god. Yeah, heats and ruts, like just ugh, that gets weird. But then the second Alpha Beta Omega, yeah, I think there's Sigma too, but I don't know. Anyway, so like that I don't like, just because of the non-consensual aspects of it. It just gets very weird and it's not interesting to me. But the Sigma is a Gen Alpha. I thought like Sigmas were like a weird addition, because I remember hearing Sigma being used in context of Omegaverse, and I guess I confused them with Omegas, but yeah, like it was, but it was one of those things. I thought there was like a new type of guy, outside of the context of a Gen Alpha term. But anyway, the second thing is that it's incredibly heteronormative for a queer story, like a supposedly queer story. Like it puts like the whole alpha beta omega dynamic really hinges on heteronormative gender power dynamics, and I think that's super fucked up, that it is it is a queer story, it's a queer narrative, and but there's this insertion of heteronormative ideas and aspects, because I've had conversations with my younger with Will, about like how gay relationships are different than straight relationships, and it's like they're like they aren't that different, but there are some fundamental like things that just don't exist in heterosexual relationships, simply because of of the society that we live in, and all these other different things. And so, so there is something unique to that you're just taking that away for the sake of being able to have, two guys play out the same dynamics of any of the majority of kind of romances that we see. And I think that sucks. Like the idea of a queer couple being able to have a biological child together is fascinating, and can lead to some amazing stories. But the fact that like the alpha omegas and betas are all heavily gender coded. You know, like betas are very much female. Like they're super female coded. Um, that like it just feels kind of icky sometimes. It just sort of feels like a bunch of girls writing out, you know, like writing out their fantasies, and completely and just sort of like playing with toys. It's just very weird. But yeah, so that's my thing with Omegaverse. Um, Sounds like a Kirby Crackle house. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it does. Sounds like a crack house Friday night. Mm-hmm. The Prince? Oh, now there's in my wall. There's not a whole lot of new stuff actually. There's just I think it's just the camera's set higher, so you're seeing more of them. There's still a bunch more I need to put up, but I'm probably not going to be in this apartment for much longer. Um, Negatively interact with the fandom. Yeah, having flashbacks to the introduction of the Omegaverse concept by asking my college friends. Oh God. The weird thing about the Omegaverse stuff is that like I forget how I stumbled across it. But I thought it was an anime thing because it was in like anime shit. And then to find out that like no, like its origins are in fucking supernatural fan fiction, makes it very weird. Because I think the idea of like the sort of basic tenets of Omegaverses existed as a trope for a while, like predates Supernatural, but I think like the rules of Omegaverse started there. Um, you can send me some options, or do you have a picture of Hua Cheng or any other character you would want, so I have an idea? Um, I mean, you know, Hua Cheng, like I, my favorite version of Hua Cheng right now is his infiltrating green ghost costume with the pointy ears, like monster boyfriend Hua Cheng. That's my favorite design that he has right now. So I would love one of those. Um, just keep the impreg and drop the weird mating shit. Yeah, like we don't need any of that shit. We don't. It's just weird and gross. Betas being femme coded and is the norm rather than a unique thing. Yeah, that's also true. Do I collect anime Blu-rays or DVDs? Yes and no. Like I don't collect a lot of physical media anymore in general. Part of it is because I've like the stuff that I've wanted I have. And there hasn't been a lot that I have been inspired to own. Um, Especially when it comes to like anime stuff. Um, you know, there's just not a whole lot that I would want to. And also there's not there's not as big of an incentive other than like now, you know, you buy it so that you can make sure that you have access to it because things can just disappear now. But you know, like buying like I think the only thing I don't have right now that I would buy would be like season 2 of The Ancient Magus's Bride. Um but you know, but there's not a whole lot out there that I don't have that I, you know, like that I don't already have. But I'm not against it. I do enjoy it. It also takes up a whole lot of space. Okay, I will be right back, guys. I need to step away here for a hot second. So just give me like 5 minutes and I'll be right back. We're back. Yeah. Oh my god. Uh. Cool. Let me look at some of these things. Print tour. Okay. That is a print. It's Jing art or Ying art, I believe. That is just that she's the artist who did Howard and I's paired commission, the watercolor and this and so it's just absolutely gorgeous. This is a Mad Max print. By a local artist, Devin Kraft, that I've had for years. This is just a board that a friend of mine from the very first convention that I did at Anime Frontier Orlando. She bought just a big whiteboard, and everyone who came by to get a signature, she would goad them into signing that as well. She was just being very older sister, embarrassing me, and so that's just the Sanlong print with a bunch of signatures of everybody who was there, along with like staff and other people, and so that's just a really cool thing. It's very special. Let's see, this and this and this are by a local artist, Jake Ekis, who's fantastic. And this one, oh my god, everything's reversed. Okay. Okay. This one's also, that one's a Furiosa print. This right here, that is a commission I got from an artist, Tazia Hall, who we used to communicate more. We used to be friends. Not that we're not friends now, but that we sort of fallen out of communication. But it was a character of mine of a story that I wanted to do years ago, that I haven't really done anything with. But her work is just fantastic. Oh my god, that was a gift from the artist. Oh god. Mikio, I think is who she is on Twitter. Oh, I don't. Oh goodness, I'd have to hunt through. Hang on, let me see if I can find her on Twitter real quick. Miyu Kiko on Twitter. She just reached out to me and was like, "Hey, can I send you something?" And that she was the reason why I got my PO box, so she could send me stuff. So it was really, so that was really cool. And then there's just, right behind me is a print of Nightcrawler. I can't remember the artist's name because he was just some random person at a Dallas Comic Con, but it's fantastic. And then this. That right there, that was from Michelle, who was the director of Birdsong. She drew that and made prints for the cast and crew, and it is just unbelievably pretty. I also have a couple of other ones around the room, but those are the prints on my wall. Do I have any idea of when season 2 is going to be released on DVD? If I did, I couldn't say anything. Let's see. So written, but like Love Shuttle, both masculine, but it's Omega Alpha. Okay. Yeah, no, Blue Hua Cheng's, but like Monster Boyfriend Hua Cheng, any Monster Boyfriend Hua Cheng is best Hua Cheng. Like, he always should look like a monster boyfriend. He is a monster boyfriend. I'm contemplating bringing Blue Hua Cheng to Lantern Festival. Oh, that'd be cool. We need another season already, man. Like, I don't think we're gonna get another season of Megas for another like 4 or 5 years, like the last one, just because the manga needs to catch up. But it's gonna be the last arc, so it'll be the conclusion of that story. Very excited to see where that goes. Maro, I can read the chat. I like if you're planning on something, I can still see it. Um, that Omegaverse started as far back as Star Trek fan fiction. Yeah, like the thing of like a guy getting pregnant is an old sci-fi trope. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised. But people say that it's like it being a supernatural fan fiction thing seems way too recent for that kind of a thing. Last year, when everyone was making fan art of Blue Ghost Hualien, yeah, no, that was great. Uh, do, 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 do. Embroidery, hoping you do it justice. Aw, I have all the faith in the world for you, Yari. Lantern Festival is going to be blasting. Yeah, no, Lantern Festival is going to be fucking insane. There's so many people, and there's other people who I forgot to mention, who I had talked to, and had agreed to do it, and then I forgot to like confirm with the Anime Yankee guys about it. So like I think there's like three more people who will like be announced later. Um, no guarantees on that. But like yeah, no, we have a ton of people. Very excited. We're not gonna have a lot of room though. It's gonna be a tight squeeze. Um, uh, see, I go to the first Omegaverse tag fic. There's so many. Jesus Christ. Oh yeah. I would imagine Omegaverse would be pretty common in Heaven Official's Blessing, just because there's literally like a baby making pill that like it's canon that stuff that stuff can be a thing in this universe. Um, Sapphire Arrive Festival. I can see cool cosplays. Yes, Karen, you can. So what do you think of short film TGS that was announced on Shine's birthday? Fans are going to the movie. I just think it was something else. As far as I know, it's the short film is just a like clip show of animations and stuff. As far as like that's what I know about it. I could be wrong, but so it's like it's nice that like TGCF stuff is getting made, but it's not anything new. What's my favorite dubbed anime? Heaven Official's Blessing. Well, no, that's Donghua. I'm gonna be pedantic. Cowboy Bebop. That one just like that one. The dub is a different show than the Japanese, and I think that's what dub should do. Like it is its own take on that story, and it is very good. Let's see. Ying Art, yes. A map board. Yes, it is a map board. Um, Soda will hide behind a tree and no one will see the killer cosplay. Yep, that's true. That's exactly what Soda will do. Soda needs to bring the big boobied mouse pad for me to sign. Cause she forgot to do that at Anime Fest, or she was concerned about it getting checked at TSA. um, yeah. Well, everything's reversed. Let's see. Need more frames for my prints. I need more frames for my prints too. I've been given so many wonderful just pieces of art that I want to put on display, and I just need frames for them. And yes, Nightcrawler, our precious blue boy, precious little demon boy. Have I watched the My Hero Academia dub? I have. I have very strong feelings about My Hero Academia, because I'm a pedantic little bitch, And there's a book called Secret Identities, which is a academic approach to the genre of superheroes, in which it provides a definition of what is a superhero, because not everything in a superhero story is superhero related. And part of the reason why it's so muddled is because there was a time where comic books were like superheroes were dying, and things like horror and mystery and things like that were becoming more popular. And then there was some congressional hearings or trials or something where Congress was looking into comic books to see if they were corrupting the youth. There was a book called Seduction of the Innocent, or Sedition of the Innocent, which was sort of like a cornerstone text of this sort of, McCarthyistic look at comic books and comic book industry. And so because of that, the comic books created something called the Comic Book Code, which is a way for them to self-regulate, so that the government didn't come in and like censor them. Thing is that the Comic Book Code was basically the Hays Code for comic books, and so just a ton of stuff couldn't exist anymore because it was so strict. And so the thing that was left was superhero books. And so that's when like you get like the Silver Age is when the Comics Code gets started, and you get all these very wacky, weird sci-fi things. And so, as time went on and like the code kind of relaxed or eventually went away in like the 2000s or something, other things from other genres started making their way into superhero books. And so, like things like horror, things like all these stuff, now that was the predominant medium for comic books with superhero stories. So there's just they're a bastard medium. They're just a whole bunch of things put together. And so there's an actual definition of what a superhero is, and none of the heroes in My Hero Academia are superheroes, really. Like, All Might's kind of like the only one. All Might, and then Deku to a degree, and then Lemillion. They're like the only like three, or at least of what I've seen. There's only like three of them that are actually that like meet the definition of a superhero. Everyone else is an idol, which is not a bad thing. It's not an uninteresting thing. It's just like that's what all Japanese Japanese superheroes tend to be, are just idols. And so it's taking a bunch of like tropes and aesthetic from X-Men, because the creator really loves X-Men. But then it's just getting this heavy dose of like idol shonen stuff. And so it's really frustrating for me to, because there's a central, like the central argument is like, our heroes like creating a problem or something, which is a thing that superheroes have, a question that superheroes have tackled quite a bit. But when you have like idols tackling it rather than superheroes, because part of a superhero's definition of a superhero is that they have a pro-social altruistic goal, right? Superman wants truth, justice, and the American way for everybody. Batman wants to rid Gotham of crime. Like, superheroes are about defending the society that they're in, or correcting the society that they're in. Idols are about making people feel good. They provide a kind of like parasocial relationship between, where they're just sort of a blank canvas, or a slightly different canvas that you can like project emotions on and stuff. And so they're about the consumer, as far as I understand. I could be wrong about idols, but they're about the consumer. They're not about society. They're not about the collective. They're about the individual. And so like that's completely at odds with the definition of a superhero. So it gets weird. It just gets weird, and it doesn't create interesting decisions. Or interesting situations. I mean, like Endeavor is kind of a good example of that, where he's just a piece of shit. That man's a Nazi. Um, like just straight up eugenics weirdness, but he kind of has this weird like baby face turn. Like he kind of has a redemptive arc when that man shouldn't have a redemptive arc. That man should be a villain. And he should have been outed, and like the community should have gotten rid of him, all this stuff. And like I think The Boys probably does a better job, does a better job at like kind of tackling this dynamic of like like sort of idols versus the social aspect of heroes. Where like they are, where like the superheroes in The Boys are commodities, like they are idols unapologetically. And but they are reflections of American culture. They're a gross reflection of things that we do, and so like they are still about society and still about the collective. But they're just like they're a critique, they're a satirical critique of it. And so yeah, the short answer is that like My Hero is fun. The dub is great, and I'm more interested in it now that it's over, where I can kind of see the whole thing and see where it goes. Whereas before, I was not interested in really getting into it because it was really frustrating for me as someone who loves American superheroes, because superheroes are a uniquely American invention, and they come with all the problems of American inventions. And so for those just to kind of be ignored is really frustrating to me. You're gonna be awkward as fuck at the Lantern Festival. That's fine. That's fine. And that was a long ass winded. Why is Komo's actor literally 8'7"? Fuck if I know, man. Ray Hurd's just the most one of the most massive human beings I've ever come across. He was the genie on Broadway for a while, if I remember correctly. Like that man's fantastic. And he's really excited to be there. I'm so happy that Ray's as excited. But yeah, no, Ray's awesome. Online does not match my bluster. Online does not match my offline persona. Well, that's just how it's supposed to work. It's just how distracted I've been. I completely forgot about the Lantern Festival. Ah, Kieran, you bastard. I'll be very excited for this event. I'll be very nervous. That is perfectly understandable. Yeah, or he's a TSA offer. Oh, that officer. Oh, that's amazing. Let's do this thing. Bring the ass, but I must admit that I'm so frustrated with Crunchy. There's so many animes that haven't been bothered to dub, which totally discards those who don't want sub. Crunchy seems to always favor sub over dub. I don't think it's so much more shocks. I don't think it's more so that they're favoring dub over sub. Is that we're equipped to only dub like 24 shows a season, really, unless things get outsourced, which Crunchy kind of doesn't want to do anymore. So and I think they want to dub as many of the shows as they can, but we're doing as many of the shows as they can. They just get the rights to a shit ton more. So there's priorities as to what they as to what they'll dub or whatnot. And I know that there's been like a push for BL content. Like that's why we've had we've had a couple of BL shows in the past like 2 or 3 seasons. And so it's more business. It's more business and like practicality. It's not emotions towards any one thing specifically. See, anime nerds TSA. Just looking for. Like Karen is 6'3"? What? Fuck off! You're not that tall. You're not taller than me. That's impossible. You're not. You're British. First, so hopefully it'll be a fun time. First time for Vista Mall. They don't. It's a pretty dead mall. So, um, so they don't like putting on the air conditioning for the whole time. Um, so it will be a little bit warmer. But other than that, it's pretty cool. There's actually a really good like Korean food market there. That's really cool. When are they dubbing the Sasuke and Mio movie? Fuck if I know. No, that's a myth. All your tall people are in Ireland. How tall am I again? I'm 6'2". Well, it'll be September, so it'll be getting into fall. So like it won't be as bad. Like they oh god, like an event for the Blue Lock movie. It was either the Blue Lock or the Haikyuu movie. I think it was it was Blue Lock. They had a thing for the Blue Lock movie. And like, and they needed the air conditioning on like full blast and they didn't, and so it just got super toasty with all the other VAs. Yeah, no, Kieran, you're not. You're just lying. You're just lying. You're a UK 6'3", which is a US 5'8". I mean, Texas is whatever it wants to be. Yeah, that's true. Okay, cool. So I finally caught up with chat. So, um, no, I'm in the truth telling phase, Kieran. You just don't understand. Um, need to know where the good corn cups are down there because my wood ass have missed it from time I was in. I don't know what corn cups are. Let's see. I'm doing Crown Prince Cielian, Cultivator for the con. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, what is a corn cup? Oh, elotes. Elotes is elote corn is just a way to prepare corn. It's not like a specific thing. But elote is amazing. It's like it's corn. It's like tahine, I think. Like tahine seasoning. Um, like queso, not queso fresca, but just like a Mexican like liquidy cheese. I think it is queso fresca, and I think mayo. But like it's just elote is really good. But yeah, they're served in like cups. Um, or sometimes they'll like open up a bag of like hot Cheetos and make elote with the hot Cheetos, and so like that's super really good. Um, my on cough syrup, don't judge me. Yeah, it's street corn. Yeah, it's just street corn. Oh well, yeah. Like you get. The further north you get, like the worse that stuff will happen. What's super weird is that I didn't realize that like queso was a Texas thing, or largely Texas thing. Like I thought that was just a normal thing. Like my cousin who had grown up here in like Oklahoma, moved to California a couple of years ago, and ran into some people at the supermarket and they were like freaking out, and then they were like, how do we make Texas queso? And Texas queso is the basic fucking thing that you can make. It's just rotel, tomatoes, and and just that like block cheese stuff. I can't remember the name of it, but it's that block cheese that you melt. and it's just the easiest thing in the world. But Velveeta, thank you. It's just Velveeta and Rattel. But like, people are just like, I don't know how to, like it seems, like a mystery to them. Anyway, we're getting up on 2 hours here. I just want to say I caught up on all this, and I think it's about time to start wrapping up. So, I'm gonna let you guys know I have some special goodies. In addition to the book that I will be leaving, I think people have started to call them ficklets, of the little micro fan fiction, as written by me. We also have. Alrighty. So we have this, which is the paired print for Howard and I. Both Howard and I have signed it, and so you have that. It's on canvas. It's very pretty. And then we also have this this lovely piece of art that was donated by Crimson Chain, I believe is their Twitter handle. They were at the Anime Fest. I signed a ton of these there, but it's just super gorgeous. It's got like a little holographic element to it. So this is signed by me, Howard, and the artist, Crimson Chains. And then she also donated just a little keychain. This little adorable little keychain. So here you go. So yeah, so we have that, plus the prints and the keychain, and that is all a part of the auction for Volume 8. Yes, yeah, she was. It was funny. I went down to her table because I had some time on the last day, and so I went down to Artist Alley and met the people whose art I was signing for most of the weekend. And she had just stepped away to get like lunch or something. So it was her roommate who was there, and I was just like, well, I'll be up at my table. And so she came up to my table later in the afternoon, and that's when she gave me the keychain and stuff. So it was really cool. Let's see. Also, say hi to Suika if you go to major conventions. I got stickers and their signatures. He's often there too. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Suika. I would love to meet Suika sometime. That'd be really cool. Anyway, so those items will be in the auction for Volume 8. I'll have that up probably shortly after we're done here. I will probably have it up for it'll probably be 10 days or so for the auction to go for. And then all of the donations will be going to, once again, for Care for Gaza. So all that money will be going to help people in Palestine. So just wanted to say, thank you guys for coming out and sticking with me for 2 goddamn hours. This has been an amazing journey. This has been just so wonderful and life-changing. I was talking to Howard at Anime Fest over the last weekend of just taking a moment to realize just how fucking wild our lives are now because of this story, because of these guys and this show. And it is always humbling to see so many people be excited and fulfilled by the work that we all put into the series, and that we get to see our care and passion for it get reflected back 100-fold. So thank you once again, and I will see you guys when I see you. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Next weekend, myself, Reagan Murdoch, and Brandon Loetta will be at Boomerang Comics in Louisville for a signing. It's going to be more stuff all of us have been a part of thing. So there's going to be Heaven Official stuff. There's also going to be Black Butler stuff and Twilight at a Focus stuff, because Brandon's also in that. um, and it was one of those things where I was trying to think of like what was stuff that was recent, popular, that like other castmates have been in that I've also worked in, and like Brandon and Reagan had just been in like almost fucking everything. So it's the three of us that'll be there, and that'll be the 17th. So it'll be next Saturday, uh, and it's from like 11 to something. I don't know if they've officially announced anything or not, but I'm letting you guys know here. So anyone in the Louisville, Texas area can come by and get something from Reagan or Brandon. Yeah, my whole Hua Cheng into it. Yes, no, I put my Hua Cheng into everything I do, or as best as I can. Um, but yeah, so once again, thank you guys. I'll probably see a significant more of you in September than next weekend, but looking forward to the big Lantern Festival. Um, and just once again, thank you for helping make this whole thing just so wild and weird. Um, you guys can find me on my Discord, the Kirby Crackle Funhouse. There's an open link on my Twitter and my Instagram. If you guys want to keep talking to these weirdos in chat, it's more of the same insane energy, just localized into one place of the internet. But yeah, so I will see you all later.